ready in just a minute. Call this meeting to order tonight. Welcome to our 7 p.m. City Commission meeting, our first one of 2019. So if this is the first time that you are with us tonight for a City Commission meeting, we do have agendas. You'll see them up here on the screen. After I'm going to ask you to join me for a moment of silence, and then we'll do a Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get moving with roll call. So if you would join me in please standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll have roll call.
Commissioner Jones? Here. Commissioner O'Connor?
Present.
Commissioner Lanier?
Present.
Commissioner Rephart?
Here.
Commissioner Moody?
Present.
Commissioner Kelly?
Here.
Mayor Bliss?
Here. All right, next that will take us to our first opportunity for public comment. So you'll see on the agenda that we have 3 opportunities for public comment. The very first one is public comment related to anything that we're actually voting on tonight. So earlier today, we had a whole host of meetings earlier this morning called standing committee meetings, and you'll see a list of those items where we voted. So if you are here to speak on one of those items, I'm going to open up that public comment period momentarily. And then we have a scheduled public hearing, and this is a public hearing related to a brownfield plan amendment for the project at 12 Weston. So if you're here to speak on that project, I'm going to ask you to hold off until I open up that public hearing. And then at the very end of the meeting is when we have public comment where you can come and speak about anything that you would like to share with us tonight. So I'm going to open up the first opportunity for public comment, and this is for agenda items only. So a couple rules. We ask you to come up here, share your name, the city that you live in, what item you're referring to, and then up here you'll see a 3-minute timer, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak.
I did sign in.
Great, and please sign in at the clipboard on the table.
Yes, I'm here to speak on Committee on Appointments 1, resolution appointing someone to the Downtown Development Authority Board. You know, my communication that you have in your agenda packet starts with the Downtown Development Authority. I'm going to relate this all to an information booth at Pearl and Monroe. We really need an information center at Pearl and Monroe. I want to tell you, I recently got back from Nashville, and right there on Music Row, they have an information center. I mean, and people were using it. I'd come back to that. But I'm talking about the Downtown Development Authority. Have you guys seen their financials lately, how much money they have? They have millions of dollars in separate accounts. And tomorrow, they're going to be voting to spend $500,000 in conjunction with the Mobile Commission. They're going to spend $500,000 to build transportation shelters. You know, the Mobile Commission's given $750,000. It's well over a $1.5 million budget to build transportation centers. But I'm saying the Downtown Development Authority funds should be used to build the information center right at Pearl and Monroe. That is their charter to do downtown infrastructure. That's what I'd like to start with. And how much to build an information center? You know, if it was 1,000 square feet, how much does it cost per square foot to build a house today? $125. So the most it would ever cost to build an information center at Pearl and Monroe would be $125,000 if it was 1,000 square feet. And it does not need to be 1,000 square feet. 1,000 square feet is huge, you know, for an information center. But the mission statement of the information center is to provide better local information to the visitor and resident alike every day of the year. Now, how should it be funded? I still say the information booth, the biggest expense would be the staff, and the Downtown Development Authority pays for the building and the utilities. But the hotel, motel, or the hotel, motel taxes and assessment that the Convention and Visitors Bureau collects should fund the information center at Pearl and Monroe. The city of Grand Rapids should contribute, Kent County should contribute, and we will have the best information center downtown Grand Rapids, because right now we have a failure of one inside the Art Museum, and the 3 people I spoke here that live here don't even know we have a welcome center downtown. If that's not sad, I don't know what is. I mean, but I went to Nashville, as I said, Music Row, people are walking around everywhere, crossing all the streets, using the information center. Get back to Grand Rapids, December 29th, Saturday, 4:30, a little bit before dark. Get off the highway at Pearl. Downtown is dead. Nobody in front of the Ford Museum, nobody, but you get to Rosa Parks Circle, it is packed. People going everywhere. That's why it needs to be built right at Pearl and Monroe at Rosa Parks Circles with Downtown Development Authority funds. Thank you.
All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on items that we're actually voting on tonight? Yeah, are you come on up, Mr. Miller? Happy New Year. You can just come on up, you don't have to ask.
He say he's grouchy. You're not grouchy.
Gee, I hope I'm not in trouble on that road. Very pleasant good evening, fellow veterans and citizens of Grand Rapids. This is the House of the People. Watchdog Miller reporting. Welcome to Simon Legree Square, where Black Bus Routes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 14 are banned. We have a wall in the city. It's the Fulton Wall and the Peninsula Wall. Black bus routes don't come up any farther north than Fulton, although 2 routes to 2 and Franklin 2 are now buried back at Cherry. Catholic routes are almost as bad.
Mr. Miller, what items are you speaking to?
Simon Legree Square, where we are.
No, on the agenda, what item are you talking about?
Well, we're on public participation, the rules of public participation. Public, if your bus route doesn't come here, it can't participate. In terms of Scott's testimony, I asked him a hardball question. Scott, which sculptor would you like for your statue? I want to build a statue down there for Scott. And he demurred. I can't say, though, that get the sculptor for Roger Chaffee. They already need a facelift on the Betty Ford statue. Now, you're just trying to confuse me. You're certainly doing a good job. 11-1 and 8-1 and 2. The city remains recklessly overbonded. 9A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. Who are these people? What are their credentials? Programs. The city clerk. In terms of the minutes, city clerk's secretive appointments report has never been published. It comes across as obtuse. No names at any hearing or in the Saturday paper or any agenda. Who were those people appointed? Those shenanigans come across as obtuse, fascist, craven, and un-American. His misconduct should be scrutinized for violations of his oath of office, especially under the Michigan Constitution. C1, what's that all about? 40 grand, is that the price for? I mean, we are among mid-major cities, we are America's hilliest snow town and snowiest hill town. Who's paying the 40 grand? What did they have to tell us? In terms of moving snow, the mayor should be sticking around town. I lived in Paris for 3 years on $1,800, and your hotel price alone, just for 6 days in late January, is going to be $1,896 plus taxi rides, plus meals, plus the air travel. I lived in Paris in 3 years for $1,800. Your hotel bill, that would be $1,896. You get the Junketeer to Balmy, DC, or as our bus routes, Black and Catholics do.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Your time's up. Thanks. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on items that we're voting on tonight? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that opportunity for public comment, and we'll move to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All right, any questions, comments, commissioners? This is from our December 18th meeting. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to petitions and communications.
Communication from Kalina Kowalski regarding the resignation from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
That is referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Jennifer Bossier regarding the pedestrian crosswalk at the corner of College and Fulton.
That is received and filed,
And a communication received from Scott Atchison regarding an information center at Pearl and Monroe.
and that is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to reports of city officers.
The first one is the Comptroller's report for the period of December 6, 2018 through December 20, 2018 in the amount of $17,811,296.49.
That is received and filed.
And Treasurer's report for the period of December 4, 2018 through December 20, 2018.
And that is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to our consent agenda. And our consent agenda, you'll see a whole list of items that we talked about and we voted on this morning at one of our standing committee meetings. And if there was a unanimous vote, it goes onto the consent agenda. So with one voice vote tonight, those will be adopted. So can I get a motion for consent agenda? All
Moved.
Support?
right, Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to ordinances to be adopted, and we have two ordinances before us tonight, and we'll start with the first one.
The first ordinance is an ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2018-35 for fiscal year 2019, Amendment Number 12.
So moved.
Support.
All right, Commissioner O'Connor, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We have several items which we are talking about tonight. We received a grant from the Office of Highway Safety and Planning for underage drinking enforcement. We received a grant from MDOT for $200,000 to continue our bicycle education safety campaign. We're just moving some money around for alignment for our vital streets work, a little money for Cold Book the finalization of Cold Brook decommissioning, and some bond funds that are just paying quarterly bank fees. Pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner?
I actually do. I wasn't able to, of course, attend fiscal this morning. We were in CD, but I'm wondering with the grant that we got for underage drinking enforcement, if there's been any conversations around having some education go along with that, not only for that, but for marijuana, given the fact that we're entering that area too, in terms of driving.
Yeah, Commissioner Jones did ask that question this morning. It's a very small grant. It's only $7,600. A majority of the funds goes to pay for overtime and staffing for, they do random enforcement checks of both on and off-premise locations that sell alcohol. So they send in someone who's underage to do the spot check, to do ID. So they do track that information, and we have that information available. But the majority of the fund is just to help offset the cost of that sort of programming enterprise.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. All right. No other questions? This is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Lanier?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes. And can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to our second ordinance tonight.
Yes, the second ordinance is a consideration of amendments to the pilot mobile food business ordinance.
So moved?
Support.
All right, Commissioner Kelly, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, residents might remember that in 2016, we adopted a pilot mobile business ordinance, and after a 2-year review and evaluation, we tweaked it a little bit. We found out that we needed to streamline our regulatory process, so that's been done, and that helped to lower costs and barriers for food truck entrepreneurs. And we have seen some of those entrepreneurs move into a brick and mortar business, so that's exciting. What it did was, in terms of the outcome, we have more licensed food trucks doing business that we found out through the evaluation. We've got more active public spaces as food options so that we can attract more people to the downtown area, parks and so on. And we fortunately had 0 public safety incidents and less than a dozen complaints, which have all been addressed. So it was a very successful pilot. I want to thank city staff for that, and especially Andy Guy, who I know worked on it.
Yeah, great, thanks. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes. All right, next that will take us to our scheduled public hearings tonight. We have one scheduled public hearing, and this is a public hearing to consider a brownfield plan amendment for Division and Weston LLC for a project located at 35 and 41 South Division Avenue. So notice of this hearing has been made pursuant to state law. So we'll get started with the public hearing by having city staff, John will come and give us an update of this project, and then we'll see if Jeff Edwards wants to say a few words, and then we'll open open it up for city commissioners to ask questions. And then if you're here to be heard on this request, I'll open that up in probably just a couple minutes. All right, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is a public hearing for a brownfield redevelopment project at 35 and 41 South Division Avenue. The project is known as the 12 Weston Project. The buildings that you see on your screen obviously are no longer there. This is a hole in the ground. Those buildings were demolished due to their unsafe condition. The developer, affiliated with Rockford Construction, is proposing a 3-story mixed-use development at an estimated cost of $4 million. The result will be 22 apartments and 2,200 square feet of ground floor retail space. The brownfield application requests reimbursement of $439,000 of eligible costs over a 25-year period. The developer also estimates 10 new full-time equivalent jobs. And with that, I'll invite Jeff to come up and give an update on the progress of the project.
Thanks.
Hopefully
Hi,
I'll get this
welcome.
right this time here. Well, Happy New Year to you all. Again, I'm Jeff Edwards with Rockford Construction. I appreciate your time this evening, and I think, you know, because it has been a little while since we talked about this project, perhaps I could just briefly recap the history of how we got to where we are. In 2014, we acquired the property, and as Jono pointed out at that time, the 2 existing buildings were deemed structurally unsafe and were condemned by the city, and so we subsequently demolished those structures and at the time proceeded with plans to redevelop the site with an office building. As we learned, the market did not support an office building on this site, so we went through a redesign effort to create the project which you see before you today, which is a 3-story brick structure that has 2 upper floors of residential apartments and ground floor retail space. We believe that this project is more consistent with the scale and proportion of the historic as well as current Division Avenue frontage and lends itself well to reactivation of this corner. To date, we have completed plan review with city staff. We've also secured Historic Preservation Commission approval, and we're coordinating with DGRI on their plans to enhance the streetscape along Division Avenue. I think some important things to note are that this project certainly reestablishes this corner and adds new vitality and life to this prominent location on Division Avenue. We're also reestablishing and improving the pedestrian connection as well as improving the lighting and security on this block. This project also helps achieve the goals of GR Forward, especially as they relate to a diversity of downtown incomes, population, and housing types, in particular market rate, as well as filling our existing retail gap on Division Avenue and providing for several alternatives to transportation, with 4 bus rapid transit lines being an easy 2-block walk from this site. Regarding community engagement, I met with the Hartside Business Association in October of last year. Then in November, I had a one-on-one meeting with Letitia Lipscomb where I could hear her thoughts and perspective on the project. And then that really led the way to an introduction to the Hartside Neighbors Association, where I also presented this project in November. And I will say that I was very grateful for that opportunity. I was very grateful to have that dialogue with that group. I feel as though there was a spirit of mutual cooperation and interest in this being a successful project, especially in the sense that we are improving the security and safety of this corner. And I received a lot of valuable input, not only from Letitia, but Jen Schaub, Mallory Patterson, Officer Mike Sowell was there, as well as County Commissioner Jim Talon. So all of those comments found their way into our building program, again, especially as it relates to lighting and security around this site. The Brownfield TIF request before you is really meant to help ensure that we have a safe and stable building foundation So this structure will remain on site for many years to come, and we won't be in another situation like we were in 2014. I have made a commitment to the Heartside neighborhood groups, both the business and neighborhood associations, to continue to visit with them and update them on the project schedule and progress as we move forward. We're hoping to break ground, not literally, I guess, because we've already done that in a sense, but we're hoping to kick this off in March and have the project completed in November. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, questions? No? All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. All right, so if you are here tonight to be heard on this public hearing, this request for Brownfield, now is an opportunity to come forward. Same rules apply. We ask that you share your name and the city that you live in. We'll give you up to 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Martha Cooper. My favorite topic, brownfield development credits. So it was interesting to listen to that, as I had read a story in the paper. This was some time ago, saying that when those buildings were demolished, there was a developer, I don't know who that developer was, didn't say, that had that, and they were going to develop apartments that were low income, but they couldn't get the financing. So it was very surprising to hear that you were trying to put in an office building. All I know is that I came up here once before when this was being considered. Brownfield development credits are public money, and it does not have any affordable housing in it. As I understand, it's a $400 efficiency for $800. Most of the people in that neighborhood, you might have spoken with some of the folks around, but I also know that they're not here expressing their concerns. So I don't necessarily, just think that everybody's hunky-dory with it. I know that people are not adequately housed. We've got a real problem I've been talking about for a good long time. I want to see places like that. I'm worried because we already saw what happened on Wealthy, and the city and many residents are worried with me that gentrification is moving into Southeast Side, to the West Side, and on almost all of these where people are being displaced from affordable housing, they're getting brownfield development credits. And I'm quite upset that those are not built for the people that are living in the neighborhood that need housing that are below 30%, okay? This city says it can't do anything, but it's set affordable at 80% of AMI. So that means that when developers are asking for money to put in affordable housing, they only have to have a few. I really like the idea of us all being mixed together, but I'd really rather those guys that were sleeping outside, that got stabbed, didn't go to the hospital and come home, and they don't have a home, they're just back on the avenue. That's what's dangerous. There's different ways to clean up the money than put up the neighborhood, than put up some lights. I call that taking care of people. He talks about $10 an hour, 10 jobs coming in. And every time they talk about coming in and giving jobs and they're getting public money, I always ask, and I'm going to continue to ask, are those jobs going to pay enough to rent one of the apartments in the building? Because the $29 million in brownfield development credits that went to the luxury apartments and the movie theater project, that was brownfield developments to the tune of $29, okay, for a parking lot. And not one affordable apartment was put in that building. All of those jobs are $10 an hour. What you do
Thank
at
you.
moments like
Thank
this
you, Martha. Your time
shows
is
your
up.
commitment to affordable housing.
Appreciate your time. All right, others wish to be heard on this request. Coming up, Mr. Miller, you're just standing up. All right, well, you can hang out up here if you want. He likes hanging with the staff.
Watchdog Miller back. That site there, that you kept the bus stops there, Route 1, but you reduced the bus stops 40% to illegally cross-fund the Silver Line. Initially, you never did any alternatives analysis on the Silver Line, a $40 million boondoggle. and you would have been much better off keeping the Route 1 service and the 2 Franklin Kazoo and running them on the opposite sides of the streets, basically on the same Silver Line route, with 3 transfers around Division and Franklin. So the Route 1 Division Local had 60 round trips. Now they're down to about 40, reducing them 40%. So it's illegal. You're talking early about people being able to go down to downtown jobs. Does anybody realize where the Route 1 goes? Makes a big left turn on Fulton, observing your Fulton Wall, keeping black bus routes on or south of Fulton, and takes a big nasty left turn at the Bob corner. Those bus routes are still not allowed to go down to downtown jobs. I basically support Ms. Cooper's testimony. So please, if you're going to waste brownfield, it's inconsistent. You're going to waste brownfield money on this project, then bring the Route 1, and I have plans to at least bring the Route 1 as far north as Lion and Courthouse Square, where our buses traditionally went just for centuries. I'm less annoyed at, what's his name, the developer than I usually am. But let's get the Route 1 back over to Lion. I could do it for you. I always have the plans ready. Thank you ever so much, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close that opportunity for public comment on this public hearing, and that will be referred back to our committee of the whole. So now that will take us to our last opportunity for public comment tonight. So this is an opportunity where you can come up and speak about anything that's on your heart or mind. Same rules apply, so we ask that you share your name, the city that you live in. We'll give you up to 3 minutes to speak, and we ask you to also put your name over there on that clipboard. And that is just for our city clerk here to make sure that he has your name accurately represented in our minutes. So now this public comment period is open. You're welcome to come forward.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Perry, live in Grand Rapids. I'm here again regarding a property tax issue with my personal residence and my late father's estate. I'm not certain as to why the last time I was directed to talk to City Attorney Hitchcock, because she didn't have the authority to make any changes with the corrections that the mistakes that the assessor made. Mr. Ingerson, the city assessor, misclassified my home as rental, which doubles my property taxes. He also was negligent in coming out and doing a physical site inspection, which is required by the state laws of Michigan, which probably would have resolved the issue. He knew full well that I disagreed with the physical dimensions that they used to determine the property value, but yet he knew it was being overtaxed due to the errors and never made any changes. As of now, I've paid, like I said, property taxes since 1994, in excess of over $40,000 over and above what I was supposed to be paying. The only thing that I've gotten from the city is, oh, well, you didn't catch us in time. We know we made the mistake. We know it was an error, but we're not going to do anything about it because we have these loopholes, legal loopholes, which is I'm barred by those loopholes based upon what the assessor has told me. I relied on him to tell me the truth. He lied. I relied on him not to be deceptive, and he was exactly that. He's proven himself to be that. So now I am behind not only on my property taxes, but on my father's estate, the property taxes for his estate, simply because of the deception and the misleading and the lies that the assessor has told. I have proof of that, but nobody wants to do anything about it. I'm being pushed down the road. My house, my father's estate, is in foreclosure. As of next month, I have no place to live. I worked my whole life to pay for my home. My parents worked their entire life to pay for the things that they had. They're gone now, and now I'm subject to lose it because of somebody else's incompetence and mistakes or lies and deception. Now, my understanding, according to these statutes, is that fraud is a crime. He absolutely knew it was inflated. He absolutely knew the dimensions were wrong, but he didn't go back and change it. Now, he talked to the chief financial officer, talked to me about honesty and integrity. I've yet to find it. So I'm looking for you, Mayor. I'm looking for you, even City Manager Washington. Somebody stand up and show me some honesty and integrity. Because it doesn't take me to push you to show your integrity. All you have to do is stand up because it's right. Now, one of the other people, the assistant assessor suggested that I had to follow the law. I had to follow the law, which I have no problem doing. The problem is I don't owe them anything. They, in essence, owe me, but nobody's willing to stand up. And I'm wondering if that's what you condone, or is that the honesty, integrity you're willing to allow?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello, everybody. My name is DeAndre Jones, 2018 Safe Pitch Task Force winner. I actually wanted to come here because I take the work that I do very serious. Only reason why I'm here today is because so anybody knows that I'm supposed to be going to Alaska January 16th, so the second half of this month. So I don't want anybody to just be like, well, why is he here? But I've been taking the work that I've been doing very serious, and if you actually, I want to send this to the city commission, but it's a program called Black Boys Rock, and basically they work internationally and nationally to give people recognition for the work that they've been doing in communities all over, which started in Chicago, Illinois, my hometown. And so I basically have my jump ahead shirt on from the city money that I've basically won from the city. And basically, I have some video content out there for the program that I created here, and so that has spread it very far. And Black Boys Rocks organization is actually to get sponsored from awards from either BET or the Oprah Winfrey Network. And so this is going to be very huge. I'm a big dreamer. I will never let anybody, even on the commission board, tell me that I can't do anything. Like, I will never let anybody in this room, whoever it is, even Donald Trump, I will never let anybody, because I have a goal and a vision. And usually the people that's crazy enough to feel like they changed the world or can do it, they usually do it. And I'm that crazy person. And so I definitely want to just give this a shout out to the city of Grand Rapids, because you guys have put something together that I can honestly say that can actually enlighten and illuminate people's ideas to actually become the change that they want to be. I really, really wish that people would do that and understand that if you want something to be changed, that you actually have to go out there and you have to put in the groundwork. I started with the Safe Pitch Task Force, and I did everything that anybody has asked me to do within the city to try to represent the city or the people of the city, and I will continue to do that until I pass away, literally. I love this city. I love the city of Grand Rapids. I love Chicago, and I just want to create the synergy. And I'm also working with a guy named Benjamin Wilkes. He actually created an intrinsic learning curriculum. But that's what my program was based off, intrinsic learning, basically bringing the riches that you have in your soul out into the universe. I believe that you can actually do that. I've proven that to myself year on and year on. And so I'm working with him, and we're actually going to be traveling to Chicago, Illinois. It's the guy who actually created Black Boys Rocks is actually a co-founder of a couple nonprofits, and he's creating a school, and he's looking to actually see if that intrinsic learning curriculum could actually be implemented into a school. I also am working with Ron Kniff, the Kent ISD superintendent, to see if this can possibly implement it also. So I just wanted to let you guys know I'm making major changes, and I'm being the change that I want to see.
Thank you. Thank you, DeAndre. Hello, Mr. Davis.
Good evening. Good evening to the Honorable Mayor and the City Commission. My name is David Davis. I live at the Grandview Plaza Apartments. It's low-income housing, and it's a very nice place. A lot of people don't respect it. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding the same thing with our city streets. People do not respect their city. They have no pride. They lack pride because they just throw their trash any place they want to. And so, in my endeavors so far, I found that what we have to do is hit the bottom of the totem pole there to eliminate the trash. And it'll be to establish pride in our citizens. And our citizens, whether they're driving a car or walking or whatever, a lot of stores give these little bags out with their merchandise in it. These people will take those bags and throw them out their car windows. Why don't they just keep them there on the console or in a convenient place in the car and put their trash in there, and when they get to a convenient place to put it in a proper receptacle, that they do so. So I've got a vague idea on this, and I would like any suggestions from anybody that's interested. And I would also like some assistance in this program to make our city a place where we're all proud of it. And things have been a little bit slow here over the holidays because a lot of people were off on vacations and stuff like that. And I have addressed a few issues with different city agencies, and I'm getting a better view of what I'm up against. So that's exactly what I'm doing today, and I do it every day. I practice what I preach. As I go in different places, I pick up trash, I move trash out of the streets, where it can be picked up. And one of my complaints is the record services in the city of Grand Rapids. There's accidents, they haul the car away and leave half the car there on the streets. And it's getting real, real bad lately because we've had a lot of accidents. And these are large pieces of debris, maybe a whole bumper or a whole fender or something like that. And this is creating complications with our city being a decent place to live. And I don't know just what agency it is that would have any enforcement over these record companies or whatever, but it'd be interesting to get onto these people that are not doing their job when they're hauling cars. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank
you all have a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mr. Davis.
Good evening, Robert Metzger, East Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I'm here on behalf of my property at 312 Prospect Northeast. The letter that I just dropped off is really just housekeeping on the last year of my efforts in front of the commission. So essentially, I just want the video record to state and show that the city commission has been put on notice in regards to the traffic signal at Prospect in Michigan, and I'll allow Ms. Hitchcock to explain to the commissioners at another time the difference between negligence and intentional tort. The reason I'm here tonight actually is to thank the city for something in regards to taking an action, but then I have to make a request. I do have 2 no parking signs out in front of my property at 312 Prospect. I'm grateful that an action was taken. However, when I was here 7 months ago and requesting signs that did not meet standards, or the standard sign, the purpose for that was I had written Josh with Mobile GR, and I was attempting to solve the problem with the minimum footprint so it looked tasteful, and trying to avoid what I'm going to have now, which is a sign garden out front. I'm here tonight to ask, actually nothing from the city, I'm going to take care of it myself. What I'm trying to do is to do it the right way. Unlike the city, I follow the ordinance and the law, and for me to put signs up in the area of the property that I'd like to, I need an approved letter because it will be against ordinance and it is on the city's easement. So I'm simply going to ask if Anita could take care of getting me a letter so I can keep that on file, because I really don't want to have to deal in the months and the years going forward with the arbitrary and capricious teat suckers at the Code Enforcement Department. So I'd rather have that letter on file so I can pull it out when I need it and just present it and have the issue go away with the minimum effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Metzger. Others wish to be heard?
Watchdog back. The last speaker's problem, unnecessary, is related to the $75 million Laker Line boondoggle, new stoplight there to accommodate the Route 50. Their bus gets to run downtown every 6 to 8 minutes, whereas our Catholic and black bus routes are banned. Next, C4, which I didn't get to, 1351 Leonard in the Len Fuller Grubhub neighborhood, 1011 restaurants there. That was a former bankrupt Chase facility. While it's accommodation for Chase J.P. Morgan, which darn near bankrupted the entire country 10 years ago. So on your new 19, which you are bankrolling, it's almost a $2 million extra subsidy for the 19, 1.8 million. All the bus stops for bankrupt Chase, J.P. Morgan have been retained, but the bus stops for Old Kent and Fifth Third have been obliterated unnecessarily. The staffers are not meeting with the public on it. That situation gets more absurd by the time. Coming to Grand Rapids, I never expected to criticize a route called the Nurse Abuser 19 and Commissioner Lanier. So you know the history on this, where it started, Madison Square. They stole the 19 from Madison Square, Oakland Hall, and so on. Blowing up $1.8 million subsidy on the new 19, and they canceled the stops and all the stops for Old Kent Fifth Third along Michigan. Next, let's talk about D2. Is this a 23-year extension? D2, right? For the Cabela's View debacle, fiasco. Why are we up there? Are you giving them 23 years more, or is it a total of 23 years? This is unclear. And why are we up there in the first place? Who were the driving forces behind this? Let's play Casablanca and round up the usual suspects. Was it Commissioner Schaefer with his banking interests, or Commissioner Connor? Who was the driving force that put us up there in the first place? You know, pressuring the city manager's office, and it landed on. Kara says she has no idea how things land on her desk, and I believe her account on it. But now it's up to 23 years or 23 plus years. You've got me totally confused, Mayor. Next, city manager's office. Welcome to Grand Rapids, sir. You're leaving up the blinding, harsh blue and white Israeli lights downtown, right over there, 2 blocks, while dismantling our credit-grabbing Christmas.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thanks.
Well,
All right. Thanks.
Merry Junketeering, Mayor.
Happy New Year. All right. Anyone else who wishes to be heard? All right. Oh.
Ellen Martha Cooper again. This is kind of old business, actually, for me. I was really hoping to make the last city commission meeting of 2018. I had a comment that I wanted to make on the rental readiness program. I was at Baxter Street Community Center, and they were rolling out the application ordinance. I have a couple concerns about that. It seemed to have changed from when we all at Homes for All were working on it. There were a couple of exceptions which I felt blew kind of a hole in our purpose for that ordinance. But I really am going to talk to the $91,000 that I saw in the paper is going to the rental readiness program. And when they rolled it out, they mentioned they're only going to have an online portal. So if these are homeless people, they're only going to be able to access it online. But in that article I saw in the paper about it being $91,000, that most of that was going to go to hiring a social worker for this program. When she was rolling it out, it kind of came out that, you know, she said, well, I can't be everywhere at once, because I said for that kind of money and somebody like an MSW, you could have open hours on Tuesday and Thursday for people that are maybe older and can't necessarily use computers great. But I will say that $91,000, you want something for your money, especially when there's that much hurt out there. I don't even know if this affordable housing fund even has $91,000. I don't really see a need for this $91,000 to be providing resources for people, because there's a lot of places in this town you can get resources. 211, Salvation Army, DHS. I could give people resources if those resources were there. They said something about taking a class. Well, I had a kid once, he got in trouble, and guess what? I didn't get any help for the kid, but I had to take a class. I'm really saying, what good I could not see any real good for anybody coming out of that. It seems like moving money from one part of the city to the other. I saw him come up and he explained it, but this isn't a guy that knows much about homelessness. I do. So I can look at that program and I can think, this is just, it's not going to help anybody that has student loans like I do. When I was looking for an apartment, my credit wasn't good because I had student loans. Okay, I don't see how this, if this program was going to give somebody like a bus pass so they could find a job, go look for an apartment, get their kid to school while they're homeless, that's the kind of things that homeless people need. They need real solutions. $91,000, when I mentioned that in the meeting,
Thank you,
I went
Martha.
outside and somebody else got up and they were pretty upset to hear
Thank you.
that that $91,000 was being wasted.
All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close that opportunity for public comment. I'm going to turn to my colleagues, and I'll start down here with Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to wish all who are here and who are watching on Facebook Live a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
also want to send out condolences to the family of Fred Lemaire, who is a retired police officer. I think he served with us for about 15 years. Got word that he recently passed away, so.
Yeah, thank you. I think all of us around this table share your sympathies. Thanks. Commissioner? Commissioner?
I'd just like to note that I have the most rhythm on this dais. It's been said, according to the city manager, it's been said that I have the best rhythm.
I believe the media said that, Commissioner.
media
and
said
everything
that.
they say is true.
And so somebody said it. Somebody said it. And so if you weren't here this morning, we were on the floor there doing Zumba this morning. And so I just wanted to make mention of that this evening. But I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening and for the comments that were made. And Happy New Year.
I think our city attorney wants a rematch.
I do.
Commissioner Hart?
Yep, thank you, everybody, for coming out, and have a safe drive home.
Thanks. Commissioner Moody?
Yeah, thank everybody for coming out, and also Happy New Year to each and every one of you. And Mr. Perry lives in our ward, the 3rd ward, and I hope that we can find resolutions for your situation.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yeah, I just want to announce something that I know many affordable housing proponents will be happy about, that in December we celebrated the opening of Diamond Place, and there are 165 apartments, 107 of which are affordable from 30 to 80% AMI and 58 market rate. So we have achieved one of our big goals, which is to have a mixed income apartment complex. So people, whether they're students coming out of college with student loans or retirees who want to stay in their neighborhood but maybe can't afford to keep up a single-family home, they have another option to stay in their own community, the community that they loved. And thank Midtown, too, for their involvement years ago in helping design that and asking for a restaurant and a grocery store. And all of these have come through. And thank you to Suzanne for convincing those architects to listen to the neighbors, because it was a great outcome. Also, I think I have a strong maybe from my husband for Saturday morning to exercise.
Oh.
A strong maybe, so we shall see.
I will turn, City Clerk?
I watched the video from this morning.
Okay.
And I was focused on, I made Joe Jones look good because he was dancing next to me. And you may have been the best, but you had me beat by a long shot.
City Attorney?
I want to see the video.
And we'll end with our city manager tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy New Year to everyone. As a reminder, this Saturday, 8:30, at the Calder Plaza, we'll have a walk run up to 1 to 3 miles. We'll have several groups. Also, between now and our next commission meeting on the 22nd, we will continue our strategic planning conversation from 9 to 11 here in the chambers. And then, as many of you are aware, since our last commission meeting, the
County has decided to dissolve the land bank. And we will be briefing the commission at our next meeting on the 29th on our efforts regarding the wind down of the land bank as well as the future of the Affordable Housing Community Fund.
Great, thank you. All right, and with that, we are adjourned. Have a great night.